Hey, Coach Jesse here, going live from MyFit24, and today we're going to talk about something that I get a lot of questions about actually, and it's about tight hip flexors and low back pain. So we get a lot of that, a lot of requests on how do we alleviate that. And the truth is that there's actually a few very simple things that you can do that are really powerful and effective to alleviate that. Now, we see this also more commonly in young female athletes. It's actually quite predominant, and it's from quad dominance and misalignment and underengagement in the posterior chain, in the glutes. So, I'm going to show you a couple of really handy tips so that you can relieve those over-tight muscles and help to realign your pelvis. So, I'm going to have our lovely assistant Stacy help us out with this. I'm going to get in position so we can see. So she knows I'm in the frame here. And we're going to take you through a handful of stretches that are really effective to help you out. We're going to start with the quads. Now, a lot of people don't know that the quads are also partially responsible for the process of hip flexion, on tightening that angle. So we're going to start there. We're going to hunt for solutions. So I'm going to have Stacy go right down onto her quads on the foam roller. So get yourself leaning in a forward position. And we're going to use the foam roller to relieve tension on those muscles. So she's going to begin by traveling up and down on the muscle tissue to try to hunt for tight spots. And then once a tight spot is found, she's going to park and hold right on that spot and give time for that muscle to release. Now, while we're doing this, we always want to be sure that we're on muscle, not on bone. We also want to make sure that we're not experiencing any radiating or shooting pain that might be associated with nerves. So she's rolling, she's targeting muscles tightness, and then it's parking right on. Oh, I think we found a tight spot right there. So
no, he's always on me to do this too. So
it's so important, and it provides a ton of release where your attachment points are, which helps with your entire pelvis alignment. A lot of low back pain actually can be contributed to tight quads. It's another thing people don't know. So one of the ways that we can enhance or change this stretch is tilting of the pelvis. So you can see right now Stacy's tilted upward to get an angle on the outside of the thigh, or she can go all the way down flat and go flush straight across both thighs. So there's one quick way to do it. Now quickly we're going to hop over to the back side, and we're going to sit right on the roller to get into the glutes. And we'll show you one more stretch that works really, really well.
Jesse, you said that so females in general tend to have tight quads. And why is that? Just because of the way that we're built?
Male and female bodies are built differently, and so for some reason, the female body tends to have a higher degree of tightness and over-dominance in the quad complex. So it's important, especially for women, to pay attention to that and make sure that those over-tight quads are not causing that misalignment.
Why is it done with female athletes? Is it even more so?
And it also can compound with under-engagement of the posterior chain. So if we're over-tight here and underactive here, now the pelvis isn't working the way that it's supposed to. If we don't have full range of motion, our body systems aren't playing well together to give us our maximum athleticism and movement.
Thanks for explaining that.
All right, so now that we're seated, she's going to lift the foot right up on her knee here on this side, which opens up that hip to get you into the muscles right there, right? Turning and rotating right there and leaning in. Now she can roll backwards and forwards. As you can see, she found a tight spot.
I know where my tight spots are.
Yeah. So you go forward and backwards, you find that tight spot, again on muscle, not bone, and then you park and hold on that tight spot for 20 to 30 seconds even. If you concentrate on it, you'll actually be able to feel that muscle give a release.
Now, would you ever go longer than that?
You certainly can go longer than that. It's entirely up to you. Again, this is safe as long as you're doing it under your own discretion into tight muscle, not on bone, not any nerve or tingling sensations or shooting pains.
I think the common misconception is that you just roll the whole time, but it's actually that you roll into a spot and then sit.
Right.
It's just like giving yourself a massage.
Right. So continuous rolling will help with circulation, vascularity, and an activation of that muscle tissue. But if we're looking for a release of that muscle tissue, particularly on a tight spot, we need to apply direct pressure for a duration of time in order to get that release.
Now, would you ever roll directly
You don't ever want to be directly on the bone because we simply cause inflammation there. We're not helping, we're only causing harm by pushing directly on bone tissue.
What about in the hip flexors?
Now the hip flexors in the front side, again, we want to be away from the pelvic ridge where the bones are here, and as well as the greater trochanter, the bone on the side of the thigh bone there. We want to stay out of those, and as long as we're in the pocket of muscle between there, we can target those muscle tissues
So how
as well.
would you recommend getting into this one?
So we're going to tilt over to the front side, so you're going to go on the front side.
So people get a better angle.
Yeah. So right into that hip pocket, see where she's so kind of leaning to the front there. And we're just below that pelvic ridge, right into the hip flexors there. And with the same principle apply. So those are three specific positions that you can be to target those. Explore them on your own to feel which ones may be tight or loose. If you're not feeling any pressure or sensation of tightness, then it may not be an area you need to address, but you can safely explore your own body to find which ones might need some work.
Now, would you recommend this for student athletes and kids getting back into sports?
I would strongly recommend this for any student athletes.
I think you get it back there. Your head's probably cut off the whole time.
But I also would recommend it
I think you get it come
to
all the way back
anyone.
here,
We're good.
actually.
I think we're good. I would also recommend it to anyone who spends a lot of time seated, which is a lot of our culture. And again, we're seeing a lot of this now because the past several months we've been doing a lot of sitting, a lot of computer work. So I'm seeing a lot of folks ask these types of questions. So, yeah.
Okay, and like how regularly would you do this?
This is something that can be safely done on a daily basis, but particularly at least a couple times a week where you're putting direct focus on it. And especially for student athletes, if you're dealing with tight muscle tissues, you want to get these releases when you know there's a target issue that's a problem. You want to get these releases before you engage in your training, because we don't want to train our muscles and our movements with those tight muscles in place, because then we're kind of stacking bad behaviors. We're adding dysfunction on top of function. So we don't want to be doing that.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach Jesse, also corrective exercise specialist here at MyFit24. And tune in as we'll be dropping more of these live sessions in, and make it an awesome day.
Y'all have a great day.